First announced back on Sony's E3 stage in 2016, the anticipation for Insomniac Games' Marvel's Spider-Man is nothing short of fever pitch as we draw closer to its release on September 7. The PlayStation 4 exclusive has a lot to live up to, considering the fervent fanbase the webcrawler has, both in the comics and pop culture. After spending close to 30 hours in New York City with Peter Parker and a wonderful cast of supporting characters, Marvel's Spider-Man is nothing short of an utterly spectacular adventure that will entertain for hours on end.
9 out of 10!
Eschewing the traditional origin story, Marvel's Spider-Man picks up 8 years into Peter Parker's superhero adventures as New York's protector. While he continues to juggle work, school, and relationships, things inevitably go awry, and the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man takes to the skies. When players go up against Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, just moments from the get-go, the game establishes that the stakes are undoubtedly high, and the unfolding story, chock full of memorable figures and familiar faces, is one of the best stories gamers and comic book fans will have the pleasure of partaking in. Insomniac has put their own spin on many of the recognizable members of the Spider-Man universe, putting an air of mystery to the familiar. While the well-known names and faces stay the same, the circumstances in which players meet these individuals will make audiences see them in a new light. Their new narrative presence also serves to bring the story together in a sensational manner. Your emotions, along with Spider-Man's, can expect to be taken for a few twists and turns. Yet, no matter the foreshadowing, the satisfaction and impact of the story remains. The way Spider-Man looks, moves, and feels come close to being perfected in this game. Whether you're running up walls, swinging through the skyscrapers of the city, or web-zipping around, the freedom of movement is a marvel to behold. Forget past Spider-Man games. They are but a poor facsimile of the immaculate system that Insomniac has put in place. While many would compare the combat to the Arkham series, there is a distinct difference in how Spider-Man dispatches his foes here. There is much more emphasis on fluidic motion, speed, and maneuverability, as well as the use of gadgets and various suit powers each costume holds that drastically changes up your approach to combat. As you level up, you unlock new skills that also make you even more formidable. These upgrades allow Spider-Man to move even faster, hit harder, and make life generally more uncomfortable for foes. Instant finishes, the ability to disarm the enemies, and even using their own rockets against them. These upgrades and more are invaluable in the fight against New York's criminal empire. Of course, Spider-Man has his tools as well. In addition to his combat prowess, Peter Parker packs plenty of gadgets that will make Tony Stark proud. The comparisons do not stop there, as there will be areas where you need to avoid detection and take out the criminals quietly. Spider-Man can web crawl, swing, and perch on top of structures to survey the surroundings, before taking down the unsuspecting victims via force, stealth, or gadgets. It all inevitably results in an all-out brawl moments later, but stealth mode helps to thin out the numbers for an advantage. There are also certain stealth sections that star Mary Jane Watson, now an investigative journalist for the Daily Bugle. While the gameplay mechanics are less complicated than the combat-heavy action as Spider-Man, these stealth sections are a welcome palate cleanser spliced with the constant action. All the action takes place in the city of New York, which is realized beautifully. The towering buildings, intricately designed streets, and the many iconic sights, both fictional and in real life, presents a New York City like never before. While the milling pedestrians could have used more variety, there is no arguing that this is a definitive version of New York that players will want to explore. Aside from the main story, the open world is free for players to explore, right after the encounter with the Kingpin. It is a sprawling metropolis, with side activities aplenty. Players can search for old backpacks containing memorabilia and hear Peter's stories about his early years, or take photos of iconic locations and buildings. Whether they are tackling random criminal activities or invading criminal hideouts, the inclusion of several surprises will likely bring a smile to fans' faces. Peter's job as an intern at a lab also lets you take on research projects that require some puzzles to be solved. And the main story is also complemented by several interesting side missions that offer not just more XP, but engaging tidbits as well. Other than Peter Parker, the supporting cast has been brought to life with great realism and detail, and the voice acting and motion capture of the likes of Aunt May, Mary Jane, Miles Morales, and more than do their part in helping sell Marvel's Spider-Man as a truly breathing world filled with real people who matter. And it is in these moments of respite from the action that gives the game an almost cinematic feel in its storytelling. From character moments to choice revelations, the game manages to craft a visual tale that also melts seamlessly with the game. And the way the game often transitions from cutscene to gameplay is simply stunning every single time it happens. Yet any game, no matter how amazing, is not without its issues. Aside from the aforementioned repeating crowds, and oftentimes less than inspiring boss battles, combat can sometimes cause the camera to go crazy, and cause it to get stuck behind environments and below the surface. There were also some lip sync issues during certain conversations with quest givers. They do not take away from the overall experience, of course, and can often be isolated incidents. But ultimately, every other aspect of Marvel's Spider-Man comes extremely close to being a showcase of a perfect superhero game. And with such a solid foundation laid down, Insomniac Games' Marvel's Spider-Man is a marvelous start of what could be a gargantuan franchise for both Marvel and Sony PlayStation. Insomniac Games' Marvel's Spider-Man is a spectacular adventure that combines comic book goodness and gameplay magic. The resulting concoction is a sensational one that will leave you wanting more.